Hi, in today's tutorial we're going to make a simple laser cut decoration. To start with, we need an image which has really good contrast, preferably black and white or grayscale, that we are going to bring into a program called InkScape, which will tell the laser cutter where to cut out the object. So let's start with a picture. So I'm going to start with something simple. I'm using a Sharpie so I get nice, solid black lines. I'm going to make sure that all the outside lines are mostly connected up. I'm going to draw my rocket booster, make sure the lines connect up, add some flames, add a porthole for the astronaut to see out of, and give them a spacesuit. And I think I'll add a door and a ladder. Now, I'm going to add some shading, and to do that, I'm going to use a thinner pen, and I'm going to draw some lines like this, and this is called hatching. I want to go back the other way, it's called cross hatching. And I can control how dark or light it seems by how close the lines are to each other. I'll add some lines here, and I'll add some lines here. And I'll add a few just a bit of shading around the edge of the rocket. Tends to give it a little bit of depth. I'm just doing this really quickly, not that I'm an artist at in the best of days. So this way. Now you could also use colors, actual shader in shades of gray, but if you do that, make sure you use not too many shades of gray because you need some difference between the different shades for it to kind of show up when it's engraved. Now if I engrave this in wood, I'm going to get darker lines and kind of brown lines, and I think that comes out quite nicely. You do it in plastic, but these lines are probably going to come out kind of grayish clear. I like the way the wood looks, but with the plastic you can put an LED on the edge and it will light up really nicely. So whichever you like. Once you've done that, you need to get into the computer. Now you could use a phone or a camera and take a picture, or I prefer and suggest you use a scanner. The reason is a scanner will put the piece of paper on a flat sheet of glass and it will light it up very evenly so that the white paper stays the same shade of white everywhere and the black lines stay really black and solid. Now on the Macintosh, the program to use to scan pictures is called image capture. And I'm just waiting for my scanner to start up. And there's a preview picture. Now I'm just going to make sure that everything's adjusted so that we get the whole picture. And we're going to make it black and white, make it reasonably high resolution, and we're going to choose a format of PNG, although JPEG works just as well. So this looks good. I'm going to go scan. And here's my final picture. So I'm going to close Inkscape for now. Sorry, image capture. And I'm now going to go and start Inkscape. So here's Inkscape. It's a drawing program that lets you draw vector art, which means points and lines the computer knows where the start and end points are. And when you zoom in, they'll stay looking really pretty. Versus a bitmap where everything is just a grid of squares and the computer doesn't really understand what one dot means compared to another. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to use the magnifying glass, which is here. Zoom in. Now we're going to bring in the picture. Before I do that, I'm just going to go back to this one, which is to select whole objects. To bring in our picture, we go to the File menu. We go to Import. Then we go to the place where we saved the picture. I'm already in the right place, and here's the picture I drew. Click on Open. Now when you get this little dialog box, you want to have it selected as embedded. That means the picture that you drew is going to be part of the Inkscape file and not a separate thing that you need to send to someone at the same time. So this will put everything all in one place. And you can leave the image mode to smooth it, which just means it looks prettier on the screen. Although if you have an old, slower computer, you can do this. Okay. Now here it is, and it's a bit big, so I'm going to move it into the middle of my page, and I'm going to change its scale by clicking on these things. Now, as you notice, I can kind of make it all squishy in different sizes. But if I hold down the Control key, then when I move, it's going to stay, an aspect ratio is going to stay the same. So it's going to stay the same proportion of height and width. And I can also, up here on the toolbar, I can click on these boxes here, and these are actually let you change the width and height by typing it in. So let's say I want it to be 8 centimeters wide. I can also click on this box here, which will lock it so that when I change the width, the height will automatically change to keep the same ratio of size, which generally you want. So 8 centimeters is 80 millimeters, and I can type 80 and mm for millimeters and hit enter. And we also want to make sure that these units here say millimeters, just to keep things simple. Okay, now we've got a rocket right shape. So now we need to draw an outline to tell the laser cutter where to cut out. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the Bezier tool, which is this one, and we're going to change the color to be bright red. Then we're just going to click some points around the outside. Now you don't want to add too many points. We're going to come back later and make the lines curve and match. So really what you want to do is go to each of the places where the line is really changing direction really fast. Like here it's going down and it's going back up. And wherever it changes direction, click and add a point. And around here I'm just going to add a few extras. And then to close it all up, you can come back here, and there we go. And it didn't change the color red. I forget when to click on the color sometimes. So now it's all selected. I'm going to click on the object tool, and then I'm going to go and find the fill and color toolbar. So that's this little icon here. Click on it, and this should show up. Now sometimes this icon gets moved, and it might be down on the side here. So you just have to look around, but it's going to look like this. Okay, once we've selected that and we've got it on the screen, we're going to change the color to be bright red because that tells the laser where to cut, and it also makes it easier to see. And then I'm going to go to the stroke style, and I'm going to make it a little bit thicker just so I can see. Okay, now we can see the outline. You can see it's kind of the shape of the rocket ship, but not quite close enough. So then what I'm going to do is click on the path edit tool, which is this one. Now I can see how these dots show up, so we can move these dots around, but you can also click on one of these lines and hold down the mouse button and drag it. So let's go to this one here. If I click and drag, I can make it curve. And we can make that go around the outside of our picture. Now I want it to be just on the outside. Now I've clicked twice, and now you can actually see that each of these points highlight, and then you can actually get these little control points which let you really do fine tuning of the shape. Sometimes I just want to grab the line and just quickly pull it out, and that's a little bit faster. And I can grab this point. Now if you find that you need to add an extra point, let's say I needed an extra point here, I can just double click. But don't add too many points because you'll find it's actually harder to make the shape line up than if there's fewer points. Okay. This is just a quick one, so I'm just going to say that's good enough. Now, oh, we forgot somewhere. I'm going to cut out a little bit around where the astronaut is. So I'm going to zoom in some more. This time I'm going to use the zoom control down here. And I'm going to move it around. I'm going to use the Bezier path tool again, which is this one. And I'm going to click, click. And let's say I didn't want to do it all in one go, and I wanted to do this piece after I've adjusted it. To finish that line, I can just press the Enter key. Okay. Once again, just to make it easier for me to see, I'm going to go and change the color to be bright red, which we need to do for the laser anyway. Make it a little bit thicker so I can see it. Now we're good. Now I'm going to click the Path Edit tool. I'm going to drag that like that. Now I'm going to add another line just to go around between those two. So I'm going to click the Bezier tool, click there. This time I'm holding the mouse button down and dragging it because that will do that. Okay. I'm going to edit that path and just drag it out like that. There we go. And I'm going to add one more thing, which isn't part of my picture, but I just realized I want to add a little circle here so I can put a string through it. So then I'm going to use a circle tool. I can just add a little circle. And again, if you hold down the Control key, it will make it stay in the right proportion. So I want it to be a circle. Now I don't want it to be a solid circle, so I'm going to move it to where I want using the select object. And this time I'm going to go to the fill and stroke palette, and I'm going to go to fill and click on this X, which will unfill it. Done. That's all we need to do. Then for laser cutting, you just need to select everything, go to the stroke style, and instead of a wide line, you need to make sure that the line is just 0.1 millimeter. And the laser cutter will go around these red lines and cut them out. And the black lines, it will actually engrave and make shaded. So back in a moment after we laser cut it. And here are the final products. One in wood and one in acrylic. Three, two, one, blast off to the moon. Hope you enjoyed it.